We're back with Big Al. As you were gone last week, you went from the West Coast to the East Coast of Madison Square Garden to watch your Spurs get butt whipped by the Knicks. Now, I know you were sitting with some famous people. Who was sitting with you on courtside?
Well, I tell you, in the seat behind me was Brent Barry of the San Antonio Spurs front office. He used to play, of course, at Oregon State in college. He was with the Spurs, won a couple
Okay.
championships with us, and he played with a number of teams around the league. So he was literally in the seat behind me. Spike Lee was across the way. Walt Frazier was across the way. I mean, it was great. I mean, other than the fact that I think the Knicks got out to a 14-0 lead to start the game, and it was a blowout from the get-go, it was a lot of fun.
Well, tell me about the shirt you're wearing, because I know that brand KITH is a fashion brand, a high-end fashion brand in New York. So it looked like
Yeah, it happened to be Kith night at the Madison Square Garden. So this was the gift that all of us got for going to the game. So yeah, I saw my Spurs get blown out, but I got a New York Knicks T-shirt.
there
So
you go. You got to make the best of a bad situation, right? And you,
right.
you you stayed till the end, or did you cut out early?
Oh no, I mean you're there. It's courtside seats. You're staying until the end.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about it. Like I said, we're in a scenario. We're week. It's hard. Is it week 10 or 11 starting in the NFL before we get it? I just can't believe we're midway through the season. We're rocking and rolling. I mean, it's almost Thanksgiving, and now we have college basketball. Now, I want to ask you. I've got a lot of questions from your All Access members. You seem to lean, and I don't know if it's intentional. We discussed this before. On extra games. They're not on the main rotation. Is this a coincidence, or is there more value on the 6-digit rotation games instead of the 3-digit rotation games? Because, look, I'd say 80% of the games that you put out in college basketball so far are not what we call regular rotation games.
That's just a coincidence. Early in the season, it is not what I lean to at all.
And just to give the viewers an understanding, what is the difference between the 3-digit and the 6-digit games, the extra games, the added games, and the regular games?
Right. So the games on the added board is where one or both teams are from conferences that are not in the regular rotation.
Got it.
So, for example, it could be the Atlantic Sun Conference, and you could have, North Florida facing the Florida Gators. That would be an extra game. Um, when it's two teams that are in the regular rotation that are facing each other, then it's on the regular board. So, like Creighton versus Iowa last night was on the regular rotation. So it's really a vestige of the past. In the old days, some bookies didn't take the circled games or the extra games, and so they would separate them. But now all these sports books take, for the most part, all the games. I don't even know why there is an extra board anymore, but there
So,
is.
as we know that I used to work out of the Don Best offices in Las Vegas. They have the rotation. They own that rotation, the 3-digit, and then it's a 6-digit. And so, for the listeners what is Eric and Al talking about? Well, Al, as you know, if you log into a PPH credit bookmaker's account, you will not see those added games unless you click the added game button. Whereas the legal sports books, you will see the games on one sheet. But what happens is you get a lot of people that obviously still bet with local bookmakers and they use those PPH accounts. And then you actually have to click that added game. So they still separate them out on what we call the paperhead skins that come out of Costa Rica, which is why with the newbies, when plays were being delivered in the first couple of days, people were calling me going, I don't see the games.
Right. There's also something else that's different these days is a lot of the sports books don't even use rotation numbers. They just have all the games organized by time of the game,
Oh,
and they don't
ruins
even
me.
use. And so you've got a lot of the old timers who get confused because they want to find a game by the rotation number, and that's not the way it's ordered anymore. It's by game
Me.
time.
Me. I want it. Every time I log into a book that doesn't have a
No,
rotation number, I want to cry.
no, the rotation numbers should be a thing of the past. All you need is the game time, and if you have a search bar that you can type in Mercer, you can find your game.
Old, what is it? Old dogs. It's hard to learn new tricks. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I came up with them. I came up in the day when I worked when Duke was alive, when the client would call up and we wouldn't even give him the game. We would say 708, 908, 612, 1312, and then we just hang up the phone. It would sound like we were taking bets, but we're actually giving picks.
Yeah, well, that's the way when you're doing it over the phone, that's the most efficient way to do it because the rotation numbers make sense. But when you've got a computer and you can have a search bar and all you have to do
I
is
agree.
type in the name of the team, you don't need a rotation number.
I agree. Well, let's talk about it. First of all, the all access. Obviously, last week we didn't do videos, as we know there's a very video centric community here. So, obviously, I got a few inquiries, but not a lot. So, let's refresh the people. If you want to access Big Al's plays, you can get them by going online to pickdogs.com and purchasing them daily, weekly, seasonally, monthly. What you don't get is you don't get the ratings. You don't get the proprietary ratings where he's rating the games from 1 to 10 units. In the month of October, a dime player following the system made 99 units, 99,000. And again, we had several days in that month where we might have won a little bit on the net positive or maybe lost a little bit. I recall there was one weekend, which I keep referring to, we were 10 and 12 on a Saturday in college football. And if you would have played the game straight, purchasing the games online, you lose a little, 2 units plus the VIG, while the same games, you're plus 15 units for the day. So as we discussed, Al, we created this because you have a lot of high rollers. You posted tickets on your Twitter account where people drive to Las Vegas. They want that one big 10-unit play. They can bet 50, 100,000 on, 25,000. And I've seen the tickets. You posted them freely on Twitter at Big Al. And so we decided to bring this to the not really the general public because this is for a high roller that can handle the volatility and can handle following the unit betting system.
That's right. I mean, you've got to be able to, the games are rated 10 through 1. So you've got to be able to put 10 times as much on one game as another. So it's not for everyone. And the other thing that the high rollers like is they have the ability to ask me about any game on the board beyond what I've given out. So if they want to bet on, Jacksonville State versus South Alabama, and they can call me up 5 minutes before the game time, and I can get them an opinion on the game. It's all access.
And let me ask you, I've discussed this on my personal YouTube videos that I do here on the channel. I'm not a game watcher. I'm a screen watcher. I'm a guy. This is my world. Looking at the screens. That's what I do. I don't watch the games. Are you? And I know. I'm a father. You're a father. Do you watch these games, or is it strictly analytics? Like, do you actually sit in front of the? I've been at Mitch's man cave. He's got 20 TVs. He's got every
Yeah,
game on.
I've got one TV, and so every other night the game I'm watching is the San Antonio Spurs game.
So do you do you, do you,
you know, I
I've said this before, the likes of Billy Walters and and all the old school guys that you and I know we don't have to mention on the video. Isn't it wouldn't you agree that most sharps, most professional bettors like yourself, most syndicate bettors, they don't actually watch the games, they're looking at screens and that's it?
I would say it a different way. Most sharp bettors would say that watching a game does not confer any advantage. That doesn't mean you don't watch. It's just that it doesn't enable you to pick more winners than losers. I think what happens is that people who think that they can gain information by watching a game, they're just misguided because they end up seeing a blowout and
Well, it's
then they get
confirmation bias, right?
well, then they get poisoned. Oh my God, I can't bet on the Chicago Bulls. They just lost by 23 points.
And then
So
they cover the next 5 games.
yeah. So it's watch the games because you have a bet on it and it's enjoyable and watch the games because you might be a fan of a team, but you're not be able to necessarily beat the point spread by getting information from watching a game. It's
And I
it's you're able to beat the point spread because you understand how to handicap sports, and it's two different things.
Exactly. So if you guys are interested in getting Big Al's plays, send me a text message 775-636-7676 with the unit rating system. Let's talk about your complimentary selection this hump day, this Wednesday. What do we got cooking?
Got a trivia question for you. I'll be surprised if you know the answer.
All right.
Name the one team in the NBA that has failed to cover the point spread the entire season.
I give up.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Ah,
We're
okay.
10 games in. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're
Oh,
10
you're
games
right.
in.
We were talking about people were trying to jump on them the other day. Yeah, the day before.
Yeah. They're 0-9-1 ATS. Now, the other day, they beat Chicago by 9 points. Unfortunately, the closing line was 9.5, and they didn't cover by the hook.
Right.
So Milwaukee's 0-9-1 ATS on the season. Now, tonight, they're a road favorite at Toronto. And I like the Bucks to break through with their first victory against the spread this season for two reasons. One, NBA teams on a 9-game or worse ATS losing streak, they've gone 61-31, going all the way back to 1990. So that bodes well for Milwaukee. And the second reason is they play this game with revenge from a 19-point loss here in Toronto just 2 weeks ago. They lost that game 130-111. And the Milwaukee Bucks are now 41-22 ATS when playing with revenge from a 15-point or worse defeat. It all adds up to Milwaukee finally getting a point spread win. We're going to take Milwaukee minus the 5 points.
There you go, guys. Milwaukee minus the 5 for their first cover to see if they can be 1-9 against the spread. 775-636-7676. Good day and good luck.